done and what we need to do to not only please those around us, but Lord, to give glory and honor unto you for everything you've given unto us. So Father, I just pray, just help us in our brand new year to reflect and focus on the things that matter most, loving you and giving our praise to you. For it's all through Jesus Christ, Lord, I pray all these things. Amen.
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 Thank you, Mr. Howard, for being willing to do that on such short notice. I now call the 2016 regular meeting of City Council to order. Let's stand and pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'll ask Mrs. Hoffman to take roll call.
Mr. Myers.
Here.
Mr. Burke.
Here.
Mr. Dunhoff.
Here.
Ms. Skidmore.
Here.
Ms. Sudkamp.
Here.
Ms. Pitts.
Here.
Ms. Kyle.
Here.
Ms. Cahill. Mr. Cahill. Mr. Skidmore.
Here.
Mr. Blankenship.
Here.
Mr. Howard.
Here. All right, we have a quorum. I'll ask that you keep the Cahill family in your prayers. As many of you know, Kathy's husband has been in the hospital for a while. It looks like he is planning on coming home soon. And his brother recently has been hospitalized. And so the whole family's been, you know.
Shannon's been in the hospital, too.
Who has?
Tom's wife's been in the hospital. She got a Tom's wife.
Oh, for Pete's sake, yeah. So it seems like everybody's kind of pulled in a lot of different directions right now. If you could keep them in your prayers, I'd appreciate that. All right, the next item on the agenda is our minutes. You've received a copy of the minutes from the December 1st, 2015 regular council meeting and the December 16th special council meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to be made at this time? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion that we adopt as presented. Motion by Mrs. Kyle, second by Mrs. Skidmore. All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, the approval of the agenda. You've received a copy of the agenda for the January 5th, 2016 regular council meeting. Are there any additions to be made at this time? I'll entertain a motion that we adopt the agenda as presented. I'll say a motion by Mrs. Sudkamp and a second by Mrs. Kyle. All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, we'll move on to the special presentations. We've got a number of recognitions this evening. The first one up is Stephen Holstrom and Lieutenant Eagler. Thank you.
Good evening. Chief Wilson sends his regrets from Maui. First up for me this evening is Steve Holstrom. He is a dispatcher that's been with us for 5 years now, but Steve's been a friend of this police department, a manager at Showcase. Remember our old friend Showcase that's now gone. But he's been with us for 5 years now. He's a TAC officer, which keeps track of Link and NCIC and our integration between the state, a lot of important data files with our terminal. Steve's a great coworker, a good friend, and he's one of those guys that picks up other shifts, independent operator. I've done several critical incidents, reviewed those of late where Steve was the main radio operator, and he's just been very solid. So I want to thank Steve for his 5 years, and we look forward to several more. Thank you, John.
Thank you. Thanks.
Assistant Chief Eagler, I'll ask for your forgiveness for calling you Lieutenant.
That's okay, Mayor. That's fine.
Yeah, but
Big called words.
Short for Lieutenant Colonel is fine.
yes, that's right. Thank you.
I'm used to it.
All right, so the next up I have is Julie Harris.
Miss Julie, would you join us, please? Julie gave me something to read, Patty.
Oh, she did?
Yes, I'll go ahead and do that.
I'll scratch out the line.
Julie moved here to Erlanger with her family in 1955 and has lived here since then. 1955, wow.
I was little.
She became a member of the Erlanger Rescue Squad in 1977, held several officers' positions during her 12 years of service. While serving on the squad, Julie was very active in teaching CPR to the community. For several years, taught CPR to every incoming freshman at Lloyd High School, as well as many members of local civic organizations. Julie is part-time in 2008 with the police department, which is where I know her from. Julie is a great friend to us. She is one of our quality assurance team members and our clerks. To be honest with you, I was telling some people today that I really don't know what they do. They're independent operators, and when they come and see me, I know that somebody probably me messed up. Lucy, Lisa, and Julie take care of chasing around 42 officers, paperwork, body cameras, citation, arrest logs. And not only that, she's a great friend, a good office mate. And when you get Julie, you also get John. So we're pleased to call them friends. And congratulations, Julie, on 20 years. Patty.
He gave me Frank's.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. You don't want that one.
That's okay. Thanks.
Thank you. That's all I have, Mayor.
All right, thank you. I've got two, so. All right. Next up, we are recognizing Mr. Kevin Burke, Erlanger resident for over 40 years. He attended the Erlanger-Ellesmere School District, member of the Lions Club, works as a real estate agent. First year as a council member was 1996. He served consecutive terms since then. His standing committees that he served on include administration, finance, police, public works, codes, building, and zoning. Looks like we just need fire to round things out. Okay. All right, special committees and organizations that he has served on or represented are the Kentucky League of Cities, the Erlanger Historical Society, the Chamber of Commerce, Erlanger Housing Development, Human Resource, Community Affairs, and Telecommunications. The notable committees that he served on are the Sister Cities International and the new city building. Other information about him, Kathy Cahill taught him when he was in elementary school.
But I want to tell you, so she don't get upset, you could start right out of high school if you were going to school, so she was a young lady then.
Erlanger is important to he and his family. His wife, Diana, retired as a teacher from the Erlanger-Ellesmere School District. His son currently teaches in the same school district. His father-in-law is former council member, Paul Hahn. I think I saw him out there this evening. Yeah. His mother-in-law, Pat Hahn, serves on the board for the Erlanger Historical Society, and his brother-in-law, Dave Hahn, is the Director of Economic Development. Congratulations, Kevin. Thank you. All right, next up, we are honoring Bill Howard for 20 years of service. He's an Erlanger resident most of his life, 1971 Lloyd High School graduate, active member of the Erlanger United Methodist Church. He works for Tank for a short time, right? 3 more months. First year as city council was in 1993. He served consecutive terms, except for one term in which he ran for mayor. Standing committees that he served on are administration, public works, parks and recreation, Connect Erlanger, community development, and finance. Looks like we also have to get you on fire to round things out there. All right, special committees that he served on include the Municipal Government League of Northern Kentucky, the Kentucky League of Cities, Environmental Affairs, Beautification, City Building, Local Government, Telecommunications, and the Kenton County Mayor's Group. Other notable committees are the Erlanger 1997 Centennial. You chaired that committee. The Erlanger Park Board, the Step Forward Erlanger, the City Platform, Friendship Garden, he chaired that one as well, and the Erlanger Ellesmere Resource Board. Other information about him. He's a member of the Erlanger Police Academy Alumni Association. He was part of the first graduating class of the Citizens Police Academy. He attended the first Erlanger Municipal Government Academy. He's one of the founders of the city's scholarship program, Erlanger City Government Month, an annual field trip with Tishner Middle School. He participated for many years as a speed walker in the city's annual Friendship City 5K. Congratulations, Bill.
It doesn't really seem like it's been 20 years, but time does fly. But I do want to make one special comment. When I first came on city council back in 1993, I knew exactly 3 people that were here. And that's Paul Hahn, Wilma LeBear's here tonight too, and Frank Wickman. Those are the only 3 I knew. But those 3 people probably took me under their wings for a couple years to get me on my feet here. So I just want to say I appreciate everything they did and get me getting started, and look forward to the next few years ahead of me. Thank you.
All right. Next up, we'll ask Patty to come over. I think we've got a first time ever service award pin.
It's got a huge diamond in the middle. It's cubic.
It's my honor and my sincere pleasure to honor a dear friend, Mr. Frank Wickman. Oh, God, but where to start? Frank began his career as city prosecutor in 1965. He became the city attorney in 1974 and has served in that position with honor to this very day. Frank has also served as city attorney for the cities of Taylor Mill since 1972 and the city of Edgewood since 1977. He has been admitted to practice to the United States Supreme Court, the U.S. Tax Court, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 6th District, and the U.S. District Court for Kentucky's entire Eastern District. Quite a loser. Born and raised in Erlanger, after his law school graduation in 1964, he was elected as the prosecuting attorney for the Erlanger Police Court in 1965 and continues to serve the citizens of Erlanger to this day. In 2010, Frank was elected by his peers as the executive director of the Municipal Attorneys Association of Kentucky. He holds that prestigious position today as we celebrate his 50 years of service this evening. Frank lost the love of his life when his precious Helen died from cancer in 2007. But taking that grief, he and his precious family chose to honor her each year with a fundraiser which has raised over $150,000 to Hospice of the Bluegrass and other cancer organizations. The Wickman family has been honored with the award Change the World with a Giving Heart, presented by the National Philanthropy Day celebration begun by President Reagan in 1986. Frank, you have changed my world. You have changed everyone's world. God bless you.
Thank you for doing that for me. Well, thank you very much for the recognition. All I can say is I've probably received more from the city than I've actually given. It's truly an honor to represent this city. Erlanger is a great city, and I've got great passion for it. It is well respected, not only in northern Kentucky, but throughout the Commonwealth. And it's even, the fire department and police department have even received national recognition for the good works that they have done. I truly hope I've made some small contribution to that stature, and I certainly hope to continue with that for some years to come. Thank you very much.
I have to tell you, Corinne told Frank that she was 3 years old when he came here. Made his whole night.
All right. All right, moving on the agenda, we've got, next up is the mayor's report. We've got, still got an open seat on our Board of Adjustments, and I'm going to make a recommendation at the committee meeting, and should have someone here that we can introduce and let you ask questions. The annual budget, we, as many of you know, we're starting the process of working on next year's budget, and we're still carrying the same theme as we've been promoting, and that is, trying to make things more efficient, trying to get, without cutting any of the services that we provide, or cutting back on the staff, or, the big thing is keeping all the services the same, but trying to find more inventive ways of doing things, making things more efficient, spending less money. And at the same time, coupling that with what we accomplished this year, an incremental tax deduct, or a decrease. We're not looking for slicing our tax rates. We're not looking at, cutting things in half, or, I'm not even necessarily thinking, as Mr. Meyer had presented, the 2% on the insurance tax premium. I'm thinking that we do this small bits at a time, moving in the right direction and keep moving in the right direction, making it so that we're making these cuts and we're not sacrificing anything that we're providing right now. And that would be my goal. I think everybody's goal, really. I think we're all working in the same direction there. Another item I have here that I wanted to mention was the in-home businesses. We are working on revising the existing ordinance regarding the in-home businesses, and that is a work in process right now. But really the thing that I wanted to talk about most here in this report was I wanted to make sure everybody was aware about what happened the week of Christmas with Cops and Kids. That was the 21st of December. The Fraternal Order of Police had $20,000. They helped 23 kids and 6 other families. Each kid got $300 to spend and was taken to the movies as well. In addition, the FOP paid off 7 layaways for the Erlanger-Ellesmere families at Kmart in the amount of $1,600. Can you imagine what a gift that would be? To have something on layaway that you've been paying off. Dennis McCarthy said that he was able to sit there and listen as they called each person up and said, hey, your layaway is paid off, come up and pick it up. That was fantastic. Dennis is the treasurer for the FOP. Special thanks to Lieutenant Brendel and our current FOP president, Sergeant T.J. Selby, one of our Erlanger policemen, and all of our officers who volunteered their time that day. Thank you for that. That's all I have on my report. Moving on then to the reports of committees, we will move on to public safety. Under police, Ms. Sedkamp, Ms. Kyle?
Yes, you all remember the Richmond, Kentucky's officer Daniel Ellis, who was murdered. We just wanted to inform people that several Erlanger officers attended his visitation and funeral services at Eastern Kentucky University, and also wanted to share with you that the Northern Kentucky Chiefs of Police and the Erlanger Ellesmere FOP 55 will deliver checks to the officer's widow. Another thing that I wanted to report on, a department-wide pistol qualification was conducted the week of November 2nd. All officers were issued new 9mm weapons and qualified. Night range, which is low light, qualification was also done. We have recruit Haynes, graduated from DOC, JT, November 6th. Several staff members attended. Recruit Officer Haynes was recognized as a class leader, gave a very good speech at the graduation, and received an excellent in physical fitness award. Recruit testing was conducted Saturday, November 7th of 2015, and approximately 34 applicants took the physical test. The 29 who passed were given the written exam later that day. 15 of the 29 passed the written exam, and those will be in the first of 2 pools of applicants to continue in the process. Then the Erlanger Police Honor Guard performed the open ceremony at the Kentucky State FOP Conference in Covington on November 7th, 2015. Also, our officers assisted with traffic for the reinstallation of the new and improved caboose. And then recruit Abe Spicer has passed all process to date and will be moving on to phase 2 in the hiring process. Planning continues to recruit Spicer to be hired and start the 24-week police academy in Richmond. The city of Warsaw picked up 2 surplus cruisers, and a 3rd surplus cruiser was sold to the city of Ludlow. And that's all I have.
Also, several members of the command staff and dispatch participated in the city's Municipal Government Academy Police Night, November 12, 2015. Several officers also attended the Thanksgiving Senior Luncheon at the Kenton County Library on November the 18th. On November 17th and 18th, Erlanger officers and detectives participated in the U.S. Marshals Operation River Cities. This operation was a roundup of registered sex offenders designed to confirm their residential listings in compliance in 5 northern Kentucky counties. Over 40 registered sex offenders were checked on in Erlanger, Ellesmere, and Crescent Springs. We are very blessed here in Erlanger that we have staff in dispatch that have this training, and it is an ongoing process from inside, and nobody else has that to my knowledge. Chief Wilson and Assistant Chief Eagler attended the Government Academy graduation. About 12 officers attended a canned food drive at Silver Lake Kroger's. A pickup truck and a half of grocery donations were collected and donated to Erlanger Ellesmere United Ministries. New pedestrian crosswalk signs have been installed at Commonwealth and Baker. The police department requested these from KDOT. An arrest was made regarding the alleged abuse of a 3-year-old child who was treated at Children's Hospital for injuries caused by the little girl's mother. The investigation continues. Dispatcher TAC Officer Peck taught and tested the police explorers on crime justice information systems, practices, and procedures. Administrative meetings have been held with regarding the School Resource Officer Program with the Erlanger Ellesmere Schools. And dispatch has instituted a snow emergency contact list procedure that has been updated and disseminated. Let's hope we don't need it. This new year will include automatic notifications to various news outlets in addition to other city officials. And Chief Wilson participated in a promotional process for Lakeside Park Crestview Hill PD for the position of captain. And Assistant Chief Eagler's in the house.
I have nothing else to add.
All right, thank you. All right, then moving on, we've got Fire and EMS. Mrs. Skidmore, Mr. Meyer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There were 335 total responses during the month of December with 135 fire responses, 200 EMS, 10 fires. We had our student education was down a little bit, most likely just due to the holidays and only 14 students being touched. But our average responses per day were actually up from prior months to 11 per day.
All right. We've got Captain McQuarrie. All right, thank you. Moving on, then we've got Public Works, Mr. Skidmore.
Yeah, I would like to mention this is the last week for anyone that wants to drop off their Christmas tree at the Public Works building to be recycled. So if you haven't already done that, this is the last week for that. That's all I have.
All right, great. Mr. Bogard? We're glad you're here. All right, next up we've got administration. Mr. Howard?
Yes, Mayor, I got a few things I need to bring before council. Let you all know that Human Resources is reviewing all job descriptions, and I believe Mark will be asking for a committee meeting tonight on that, so I'll leave that up to him when he calls it. So, as far as property taxes are concerned right now, in December we collected $224,598 in property taxes. So far in fiscal year 2015-16, we've collected $4,066,253 in taxes, which leaves us outstanding at $183,251. So give that information out to you. Passports, we processed 112 applications for passports in December, netting $2,800. And so far in fiscal year 16, we've processed 556 passports. So you know they've been pretty busy over there getting those things taken care of. So just to give you some numbers here on some of the past events we've had during the Christmas holidays. At our tree lighting event on Saturday, December 5th, we had 250 people show up for that tree lighting ceremony. It was a pretty good crowd, very fun to watch too. So, and the following day at the library, we had the holiday extravaganza. We had 450 people show up. So, so you're just talking 2 days. We had almost 700 people show up for that. The City Christmas Open House on Tuesday, December 15th, we had 115 people attend. The train display here at City Building, which is brand new around here. For us, this is our first year doing that. And the first 2 weekends saw over 100 people per week, each weekend. So I was pleased with the numbers there in that regards too. And two upcoming events I need to report is NKU Senior Games, their winter edition is Thursday, January 14th, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Fort Thomas Armory. So any of us that are over 50 years old, take special note of that.
What are you looking at us for, Bill?
I wonder. Okay. And the other one is there's free ice skating Sunday, January 17th from 5:30 to 7:30 at the North Kentucky Ice Center. Erlanger residents can enjoy a free day of ice skating with a proper ID. Skate rental is included. So, and with that, I think Missy is in the house.
All right, thank you. Next up, we've got Economic Development and Finance. Mr. Blankenship, Mrs. Spitz.
We have begun reviewing the budget for next year, began working with Greg to get information together. We asked him to compile some information, and we're going to have a meeting, I believe, on the 19th. Is that our committee meeting?
Yes.
Okay. And we think we'll have a recommendation to make at that time as we continue to put the numbers together.
All right. Thank you.
And, well, like he said, the staff's been working on the fiscal year budget for 2017. Preliminary revenue estimates have been made and will need to be updated multiple times as the budget process progresses. Departmental expense requests are due on January 22nd, and meetings with each of the departments are scheduled for the first half of February. The council budget retreat is scheduled for Saturday, March 5th. Do we know what time that's going to be?
It'll be in the morning again.
It'll just be in the morning.
7.
8 maybe, yeah.
It's 8
7.
The mayor's going to be there.
The mayor will
About
be there at
8:30. Also, for the past 7 months, Shannon McCallie, an account temps employee, has been working in the finance department. And as of January 4th, Shannon has been hired as an Erlanger employee, and Greg is in the house and I have more information on her.
Here's trouble.
Hi, everybody. As you recall, during the budget process last year, you all agreed to allow me to retire and do a little transition plan. Thank you. And as part of that plan, we hired a temporary employee through account temps, and that turned out to be Shannon McCauley. And she's been with us for 7 months now, and she's been working about 20 hours a week. And she's done a great job. She graduated from UC in May with her bachelor's degree in accounting. She's got a 2-year-old son, and she recently moved from Cincinnati over to the right side of the river, over to Florence. She has, in addition to the 20 hours that she's been working here, she's also been working at Kroger over in Anderson as a front-end manager for, I'm not sure how many hours a week, but more than most of us would like, I'm sure. We've been very satisfied with Shannon's work while she was here. She seems to get along great with all the coworkers, all the folks, and she's become very proficient and productive in what she's doing. And since she is now a full-time employee, she was hired yesterday. We're going to start dumping more work on her, and giving her additional duties, and we fully expect that she's going to do very well in those duties. And we also fully expect that Shannon will become not just a valuable member of the Erlanger family, but one of those folks that gets one of them 25-year pins maybe or something. So with that, I'd just introduce Shannon McCauley.
Good evening. I'm just glad to be a part of this community. I'm grateful for this opportunity.
All right, thank you. Welcome, Shannon. All right, next up we've got the Codes Building and Zoning. Mr. Dunhoff, Mr. Burke?
Yeah, I have no report.
I have no report.
All right.
And Dave's out of town. Mark's here.
Anything for Mark? Any questions?
Okay, thank you, Mark. We've got the Progress and Revitalization Committee. Mrs. Pitts?
I don't think we have anything to report this month.
Okay. All right. Okay, so with that then, you've heard the reports of our committees. Do I entertain a motion that that they be adopted as presented? A motion by Mrs. Skidmore and a second by, maybe you guys should arm wrestle for it, Mrs. Kyle. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. All right, the report of representatives. Do we have any reports this evening from any of the representatives? Mrs. Skidmore?
Yes, I had a small report on Kent County Alliance. They've actually changed their meetings to the first Tuesday of the month, and it's from 12 until 2. So that means then when we come here for our regular meeting with the council, then my information that I pass out is pretty current, okay? We have Sergeant Mike Lemming is the police officer, or policeman that actually comes to our meetings, and he's very, very good about clarifying things for us, and he's got a lot of great input. He's got a lot of, he looks at things a little bit differently than the rest of us do, and that kind of makes it a well-rounded group. He showed off the new body cams today. Those are pretty awesome. And also, the City Government Month field trip for the kids is going to be in March, I think. I'm not sure what the date is. It may still be in the works here. And Kenton County Alliance will be donating goodie bags for that event also. And that ends up being for about probably 50 or 60 kids. And it's supposed to be kids that have never done it before. And it's something that they really, really look forward to. And I know this is not Kenton County Alliance, but I got this thing from the Kenton County Library. It was a couple of just points to make. We're the most visited library in the state of Kentucky. For the second year in a row, the Kenton County Public Library received a star rating by the prestigious library publication Library Journal. Kenton County is the first and only library in Kentucky to receive this designation.
Wow.
And the number of people participating in programs last year was 173,558, and compare that with the population of Kenton County. The population of Kenton County is 163,929. And there are 153,144 people who have library cards.
Wow.
Fun facts.
All right, thank you. Any other reports? All right, seeing none, we'll move on. We'll move on to the reports of city operations. Our city engineer, Mr. Viox, do you have anything to report?
Yes, sir. Just like to report that we're still making progress on the underpass situation. Mr. Bogart's been incapacitated for a few weeks, but we're continuing to get estimates for some of the costs that are necessary to beautify, I think that's the right term, the underpass. That's all I have, sir.
All right, thank you. We'll move on to the city engineer, Mr. Gatlin. Do you have anything to report?
I'm the attorney. I was only an engineering major for about one semester.
Thank you.
I got a D in mechanical engineering, and I decided to move on to something else.
You're very good at reading.
You know, first off, Frank, it's amazing. 50 years with this city, 40 plus with the other two you represent. You know, as an attorney, I don't know many attorneys that, quite frankly, have practiced as long as Frank has, even though here in Erlanger, there's quite a few that are starting to, there's like you got Phil and you got Bill and whatnot. But it's just amazing, and I mean this with full sincerity, that it's been an honor to work with you for this past year. And I don't know of any other attorney that would have 3 clients for 40 years plus. I don't know of anyone. I don't, so it's amazing. On a more different topic, we had planned on having the SD1 suit filed by the end of the year. However, we keep gaining more momentum, and it's a slow process to get other cities on board. So each week we're adding more interest, more cities. We keep pooling the interest. It seems to be a little bit of a domino effect that, you know, once, oh, well, this city's on board. Now we'll get on board. Now we'll get on board. So we're now sort of retargeting that toward the end of the month. So that's moving forward and with a lot of good momentum. Right now it looks like cities in all 3 counties.
Wonderful.
So that's all I have.
All right, thank you. All right, the next is a city council attorney, Mr. Wickman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Gatlin, thank you for those kind comments. I appreciate them very much. Obviously, this year has involved a lot of transition as far as the city attorney and legal representation. We've had some ups and downs, but I think that's moving forward in a progressive situation. In addition to our work as a city attorney, I would like to report, since we're doing annual rear-end reports, kind of proud of the fact that in 2015, our firm collected over $80,000 in delinquent taxes and civil fines for the city. So I think we're probably operating in the black in that regard. Other than that, don't have anything else. I'll be glad to answer any questions anybody might have about our services or invoices.
All right, seeing none, we'll move on. City Administrator, Mr. Fields.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'd like to thank Mr. Wickman also. I know when I came over to this job 2.5 years ago, I was very green. Mr. Wickman has helped me a lot, especially over my career here. And 50 years is a lot, and you said you were how old?
Oh,
I
come
was
on.
3. I just said, I was a little older, but not, yeah. If everybody remembers, a couple months back, we had a committee meeting talking about the franchise fee. And I believe at that committee meeting, we had talked about going ahead and trying to extend that for another 3 years. We never did take any official action on that, so I would like to ask council to instruct one of the attorneys to go forward and get that in motion to reinstate or just extend for the next 3 years the same franchise fee that we have in place right now. So, the council.
Make a motion, we go ahead and do it.
All right, we've got a motion on the floor from Mr. Dunhoff, second by Mr. Burke. All in favor? Or, excuse me, any discussion?
Yeah, I do have a comment.
Okay.
We need to identify which attorney is going to do that.
Ah, yes. Why don't we?
Yeah, I mean, I think since you did the first ordinance, it would be most efficient for you to take care of this one.
Okay.
If council's okay with that.
Yes.
All right. Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, thank you, Mr. Fields.
I've got a couple other things.
Okay.
You know me. Speaking of the attorneys, Mr. Wickman's bill for November, there was some work done on there that's one of the council members, Mr. Meyer, has questioned about whether or not it was a charge that should have been sent to the city attorney or not. I'll tell you, and we've had some conversations, emails back and forth, and some conversations with the attorneys, and this was an executive function, but it was an executive function that staff did bring Mr. Wickman into, and Mr. Wickman did spend the time to do this. It was a disciplinary action with a police officer, and with all of Mr. Wickman's experience in the past with doing that, he was brought into that. So the rest of the bill has been paid and approved by me. There was a $393.33 charge on here that I did not approve pending your all's approval and discussion tonight. So I'd like some guidance on whether to go forward and pay that, or you all decide and tell me what you want to do.
If he was here.
So I don't know if Mr.
I guess my question is, and this brought, when I was looking at that invoice, how do we decide what item, if there's an item that should be questioned or it doesn't seem appropriate, because the contract clearly states that no executive functions are covered under the payment for that contract. So, which brought my question to Mr. Wickman and Mr. Fields on how that should be handled. I know this is still new, so if there's discrepancies or issues, how do we handle those? Are we even able to approve something that's not in the contract to be paid?
Yeah, so can I answer from a legal perspective of a legal interpretation of that contract? Because I don't want to get into the weeds of this main issue. The problem is things such as police hearings or fire hearings involve both legislative functions and executive functions. So in this particular situation, when there was a discussion as to whether a hearing would be triggered, I brought Mr. Wickman into the discussion as counsel's attorney, because obviously that becomes a legislative function at that point. So I think, the problem with any contract, and I'm not a strict constructionist and don't flaw me for that, but there's always gray areas. And I think in this particular case, if there's anyone to blame, it would be myself, because out of an abundance of caution, because if we were going to have a hearing like we just had 2 weeks ago for a firefighter, that's clearly was a legislative function. I served as the prosecutor. Mr. Wickman served in the role as counsel for counsel. That's what happened here. So it was maybe not a unique situation. I think Mr. Wickman and I are facing daily this interaction, but I mean, we're trying to work through it the best we can. So, and again, I'm just trying to say from a legal perspective, I think that the contract I think there was overlap between executive and legislative with that specific issue is all I'm trying to say.
And I'll say this was a first. You know, after all this time we've been doing this is a first. So this probably, I think, is the correct forum to handle this out and have this discussion. I knew another way, and I made the suggestion that this be done tonight. So, I mean, I think this is the right forum to do that and give us staff some guidance on going forward in that. And this is one of those unique things that we hope we don't have to do very many times.
Yeah, really. Amen to that.
Was there a motion on the floor?
Was there a motion to pay the bill?
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion, and is this something that we need to vote on or not?
I don't think so.
Can we just say aye?
I think we're
Yeah,
okay.
all
I mean,
well,
compared to what the bill is and compared to what it could have cost us, I'd say let's pay it and move on.
yeah, you know, one of the things, I guess, if you don't mind, if I just make a quick comment, you know, kind of sitting on the other side where I'm not really involved in this decision. I mean, it seems like it would probably make more sense if we had something on the front end for approval, instead of trying to discuss it after we've already incurred the invoice or incurred the fee. You know, if there was some way that council could, I don't know. I don't have an answer for it. I'm just saying.
Well, that's something to look at.
Is it something that we can think about, or?
Right.
Okay.
Didn't we just do that? I mean,
Well, I'm just saying, we're talking about it after the fact.
right.
If there was a way that we could have said that, I don't know, if somehow communicated ahead of time,
Yeah, but like Mark said, this is the first.
yeah.
Well,
Okay.
And I think it's
From
kind
time
of
to
easy.
time,
If
you're
you ask
gonna
it to
have
do
something
work, you
pop
should
up
pay
like
for
this.
it.
It's unexpected.
Yeah, I agree
So,
with
I
that.
mean, you know,
I
we
don't care
just
who
gotta
it
use
is.
our discretion to go ahead and do it.
Yeah, okay. It seems like our only time, you know, getting together as a group is here, so, okay. Renee, I saw you with your hand up.
So are you saying you want us to make a motion to approve the charge and then do something to pay the charge?
Right, okay, I wasn't saying that we pay or not pay the charge. I'm not trying to get in the middle of that. I'm just putting in 2 cents that maybe there would be a way that we could approve this ahead of time. Or if there was maybe somebody that could sponsor, you know, if there's something that's being, I don't know.
Well, I think if either attorney, you know, thin gray line here, okay? If either attorney does work on a specific item, they need to be reimbursed for that.
Sure.
You know, and you know, it doesn't matter whether it's Frank or if it's Jack.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know that I necessarily agree with that completely, because if contractually we're not obligated to pay that item, why? I mean, we're talking about the city attorney now, but what if it's a contractor somewhere else and they throw something on there and they say, oh yeah, we did it anyway, we're gonna go ahead and just pay that? I mean, I think to me, it's not just about the attorney.
This was a staff recommendation.
I agree, and I think, you know, some of the confusion here as well is Mr. Wickham has done so many things over the years that, you know, it's just second nature, and I applaud him for, you know, stepping up and helping out in the situation, but it's still, you know, even with the staff recommendation, and if somebody came to me and said, hey, will you do this, and I, you know, go help them work on a house, and I sent them an invoice, I'd be like, what did you do? You know, I didn't, you know, hire you to do that, but you just did it anyway.
You come do my porch?
I don't think you want me I don't have an engineering degree, Patty. But
No, I don't. You know, I think this is.
We've got our Saturday retreat coming up soon, right?
March, yeah.
Would be a good time to
That'd be a
bring all
good
that
time
up.
to bring all that up, and that way we can decide how we want to handle it going forward, but
Okay.
this one needs to be taken care of because
Absolutely.
it's brought in, so.
All right.
Let's move on and make a recommendation.
Okay, so let's just take a quick vote. All in favor, say aye.
Eric, can I make I was just going to comment, you all passed a resolution a couple of months ago doing exactly what you're talking about, deciding how our firm's invoices for collections was to be reviewed and paid. And that resolution says the city administrator should do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, what's happening is city administrators getting council people questioning what he would have ordinarily approved. Now, if you want to change that resolution, that's fine, but you do have a resolution on the books identifying how those invoices are to be reviewed and approved.
And since I'm in that position at this time, I'm going to say this is the first one. So I think, you know, coming to it like this and talking about it and discussing it here, you know, if there is some question, please feel free to contact me if you see it and you'd like to ask that question. Because Mr. Meyer did, you know, had the answer, and, you know, I can understand both sides of it. So, you know, and it's better for this group, I think, to decide these very, I think, few incidents that are going to come up. To do it. I'm fine with the resolution that was passed a couple months ago and going forward with that. And I think Mr. Wickman and I have, you know, and Mr. Gallen, I think we've all worked on that and worked forward with it. And I think it's worked very well. This was one of those exceptions that just happened. And I don't really foresee it occurring a lot in the future.
All right. Are there any opposed?
I am.
One. Okay. All right. Motion carries.
Also on, tonight you got a lot of legislation that's going to occur, and I want you to know that Dave Hahn is not here, and I know Dave talked last time. So speaking about the text and the map amendment ordinances that we're going to, I want everybody to know that staff does recommend the approval of both of these ordinances, and you've heard enough from us over the time, and I'll just stick to that one. On the 19th, the committee meeting. I know we want to talk about budget that night, but also we want to talk about the realignment of general government and the new job descriptions that we've come up with. And also what we've done is revisited all of our job descriptions, and we have made some changes, some significant changes, I think, to some. I will get those to you beforehand, before the 19th, so you can review them. Also, the wage band and the wage scale. There is going to be some deletions on that of positions that we no longer have that we're getting rid of and revamping. So I'm going to get that to you. So it's new. The bands themselves, the amounts are not going to change. It's just going to be some of the positions within those bands that are going to change. So on 19th, we'd like to review all that. I think that's it.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Fields.
Thank you.
We'll move on to correspondence. Mrs. Hoffman, do we have any correspondence this evening?
No, sir.
All right. Then we'll move on to public comments. Oh, okay. All right. Okay, so we have a number of people signed up to speak this evening. First one on the list is Mr. James Brown.
Mayor, Council, good evening. Good evening,
Ms.
Suitcamp.
Good evening.
I just wanted to come up and congratulate Mr. Wickman and tell a short story from when I first came on to council. Seems like quite a bit of time ago. Shortly after I came on council, I had the privilege to attend the KCPC newly elected city official conference they put on every couple of years for the newly elected officials. So I'd been a council member for about 10 days, I think, when I attended that. Knew nothing, was wide-eyed, and had been an observer and a friend of the city and certainly an interested party for a long time. But Mr. Wickman and Ms. Quinn also attended that conference, and I had the privilege of sitting in a couple of the breakout sessions with them. And the stories and questions that some of the other newly elected or maybe been there for a while, city officials, mayors, administrators were asking in a couple of the legal seminars, probably would have made all my hair fall out, turn gray, and me resign as soon as I got back. I was terrified at some of the things they were asking about. And I finally broke out, and we had a few times, and I had an opportunity to talk to Mr. Wickman, and I said, my God, what is going on, and do we have those problems? And I learned a truism that I probably knew, but came even more clear, that due to his counsel and his guidance, we avoided a vast majority of those landmines and potholes, even though Mr. Cahill's not here, due to Mr. Wickman's counsel. And I know as a citizen and then as a council member, Mr. Wickman certainly shared a lot of advice and good counsel with me that helped me to know better how the city operates and how council operates and how things go. So what little bit of interesting times we've had over the last year are nothing, and you guys should remember how blessed we are to have Mr. Wickman's counsel. So, Frank, congratulations. Thank you so much for everything. And I would also be remiss if I didn't congratulate Mr. Burke, who was saddled with a new council member a few years ago on the administration team, and also kind of showed me the ropes and helped not get me get in too much trouble. So thank you all. Happy New Year.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. All right, next up we've got Dave Gray.
Council, Mayor, thank you for letting me talk. I'm here regarding the change in zoning for 30 Kenton Lands Road from IP1 to IP4 so they can have outdoor storage. Looking at your other amendments that you have a text amendment on the books to change IP3 and IP4 to allow outdoor storage with new guidelines. I know from talking to other people that the main reason that they want to change 30 Kenton Lands Road to IP4 is so they can have outdoor storage. Okay, right now they can do it, if you pass the text amendment, they can do it under IP3. And the reason I'm saying this is I'm the owner of 32 Kenton Lands Road, which is IP4. And I have, under my business, I put quite a bit of money into it. So we can have a towing company in there and try to work with the community. And with you all changing 30 Kenton Lands Road to IP4, down the road, another towing company could come in and possibly hurt my tenant we put a lot of money into, and I'm here to voice my opinion that, I don't think you need to go to IP4. You could do the same thing that the people at 30 Kenton Lands Road wants to do with IP3 if you pass your text amendment. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Mr. Gray. Next up, we've got Mr. Paul Meyer, Mayor Paul Meyer.
Thank you once again for allowing me to speak. My name's Paul Meyer, Mayor of the City of Crestview Hills. I reside at 154 Lookout Farm Drive in Crestview Hills. Been there for 35 years. I guess one of the things that concerns me is that this zone change and possibly text amendment is kind of after the fact. The current zone, IP1, which is most of the property except for the airport towing, does not allow outside storage. And I guess there's been outside storage there for probably over 2 months, if not longer. I passed out a photo and I thought it was kind of unique that we think it's from the 1950s. And you can see the Palm Beach building there. And also you can see where Summit Drive was at, what it looked like before residents in our city built their homes. And of course, at the time when they built their homes, like most of us, we probably don't really know what is allowed in the adjacent zone. We're just interested in our home. But for many years, Palm Beach Company operated their establishment with all inside work. All the trucking and everything was from the front. Sewing and anything else, distribution was done inside of a building. Now we have tractor trailers delivering skids, storage units, and anything could possibly happen going forward. So our residents are objecting to that. I think it's interesting in your zoning ordinance, and I raised this question last month, and I don't know if it's been resolved or anything, is the IP4 zone, if you would allow that, I think you have to require that any person who is in that IP4 zone, who is going to do outside storage, has to comply with your zoning code. Your current zoning code for IP4, this is section 1029.29, IP4, section E3, under other development controls, requires 75-foot setback from when it's adjacent to a residential zone. Also requires under section 9.17 of the Erlanger zoning regulations, the landscape regulations under table 1 refer to the buffer yard required D, and I brought this up last month and I had no response. Under table 2, buffer yard D requires 80-foot wide landscaping, which has to be made up in an 80-foot area, 20 large evergreens, 10 small trees, 5 large trees, and 90 shrubs. I think a landscape plan needs to be provided to show that anybody who's going to do outside storage in this area will be compliant. We have also, last month I brought up, when it comes to outside storage, there's nothing saying how close the storage can be to a residential zone, how high the storage can be. I've witnessed containers 3 containers high and some skids nearly the same height. Last month we heard from the owner of the company that they're a 9 to 5 operation, but there's nothing in the zoning code that prohibits them from going beyond those hours. So I think not only are they non-compliant now, but what changes if you approve this, and it sounds like staff's recommendation is approved or wants to go forward, I think you need to keep your current regulations you have in mind and make sure that anybody who is going to be in that zone, and maybe even to the point where possibly look back to when Airport Ford or airport towing went in, whether these regulations were in place at that time and whether they were ignored or whether they were possibly given a waiver. I certainly would not recommend a waiver on this situation. Does anybody have any questions for me?
I don't offhand, no.
Yes.
I could be mistaken, but when I watched the tape of the public hearing, I thought the woman, I can't remember her name, I thought she said the 75-foot setback meant the building itself. That's what
correct.
I heard. Is
Yeah,
that correct?
That's correct.
No.
If you look at the regulations, it calls for area and height regulations, okay? Area and height. Now, to me, that is not a setback. I mean, that's an area at height is a building in my book. And this is an argument I had with KCPC staff. Under Section D of the our IP4 zone, area and height, Section D, Item 6, minimum rear yard depth, 50 feet. No rear yard is required when a rail spur forms the rear property line, which is understood. So to me, that is a building setback. However, if you go under Section E of your zoning regulations, other developmental controls, item subsection 3, where any yard or any use permitted in the zone abuts a residential zone, minimal yard requirement of 75 feet for each side or rear yard when it abuts a zone shall be provided. 10 feet of which shall be maintained by screening area as regulated in that earlier section I point out 9.7 of this ordinance. I think they meet the 75-foot. I didn't go over there and measure it, but I believe they meet it. But I think the biggest thing is if you allow it to go through, especially if you're going to allow outside storage in the IP3 or IP4, either one, I think it's important that they meet those landscape regulations when they abut that residential zone. But I agree, there was a lot of discrepancy on that. And they,
with the landscaping, I think that's a great idea. And we've done that before with projects, so I would have no problem with the landscaping at all.
Yeah. It's a shame that Dave Hahn isn't here.
Yeah,
I know Mark could probably speak to it, but I believe regardless of whether it's going to be a fence or a landscaping buffer, it has to be approved regardless. You know, if they want to put the storage in, they have to get that approved.
I've talked to David several times regarding this, and he did say they will have to comply with everything in those guidelines or it can't be done. So they are going to make sure that they comply with this before it can be done. So.
and I would think, you know, and if you're reading your zoning, it's not very clear where this 100-foot landscape needs to be, or if it's across the lawn, the extent of the property. It has some dimension of 80 by 40 and 100-foot linear feet, and you know, is it across the whole property line, or is it only where they have the storage? Is it only, you know, these are things that I think are unclear, like all zoning ordinances. When you get down to the nuts and bolts, it's very unclear. But I think it's definitely clear that there has, if you do go forward, that they would have to comply, otherwise they would be violating the zoning, especially a new company coming in compared to someone like the 32 Kenton Lands Road, which they've been there for a while. And like I said, I don't know when these regulations, the date on it was March of 2013, and I know they've been there for that, but I think it's something that needs to be considered going forward. But we would prefer it no change on any of it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Thank you. All right, next on the list is Jerry Bussard. Did I say that correct?
Yes, thank you for this opportunity to bring this matter before the City Council. My name is Jerry Bussard, and I'm here with several of my neighbors in the Lakemont subdivision. I live at the intersection of Lakemont and Borderlands Drive, and at that particular intersection, there are currently stop signs that control the traffic moving east and west on Borderlands, stop signs for the traffic going east and west there crossing Lakemont. There are no stop signs for the Lakemont traffic, and it's been my experience, I've only lived there since May, but talking to my neighbors, it's been an ongoing problem, even more so with the additional development in the back of the subdivision there. But it appears to me that there's a dire need to make that intersection a four-way stop intersection. There's been a number of occasions where I've witnessed kids, particularly in the summertime when the pool's open, the clubhouse area, there's a lot of pedestrian traffic there. And I've seen on a number of occasions, the kids have to scramble out of the street because just north of that intersection, there's an incline, there's a hill, and the pedestrian traffic cannot see the oncoming traffic, the oncoming vehicular traffic as it proceeds south on Lakemont. And I've seen them have to run. In fact, I've been out there myself with my dog and had to scramble across the street. Of course, at my age, that's not a pretty scene. But if you could give some consideration to adding additional stop signs there, it would be greatly appreciated by myself and my neighbors, because it's become quite a situation there. It's rather hazardous. So.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bussard. I'll let you know that this is an intersection that I've received a number of email requests for this same thing. We have looked at it with our Public Works. We've also had our police department look at it as well. And I have signed an executive order this evening to go ahead and make that a four-way stop. All right, so consider it done. All right. right, next up we have Mr. Eddie Kappas.
Hello, my name is Eddie Kappas. I live on 115 Summit Drive, Crestview Hills. I wanted to voice my opinion about the zoning change on Kenton Lands. I think Paul hit most of the points pretty good. I think the first, last month I was unable to make it, but I did go to the Kenton County zoning meeting, and I believe everybody there had enough question and concern in their minds to vote no on it. To me, I think the biggest point or the biggest item in the IP4, which should be thought about, is the vehicular storage. Personally, the outdoor storage doesn't bother me, and I feel like by going IP4, you're opening up the door to, who knows, a big junkyard. And right there along Kenton Lands Road, I mean, I don't think Erlanger would want a big eyesore on a main thoroughfare like that. So that would be the one thing I would want everybody to consider would be what does the future hold by allowing vehicular storage. And it's not just a storage issue. To me, it's the vehicular storage. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You may need to help me with this. Next up, we've got Mr. Matt. Yeah, okay, I'm sorry, Matt. Pronounce your name again for me.
Matt Olliges, Zala Companies. Thank you, Mayor and Council. We represent the building owner, and be brief. I just want to, obviously I'm in support of the zone change to IP4. The folks from camps are here again to talk about, their plans. Certainly, we're going to comply with, any rules that come along with a zone change. I understand tonight that city staff recommends approval. My understanding is that Kenton County PDS recommended approval. This zone change is consistent with the Direction 2030, and it's also consistent with the land use plan of Kenton County Comprehensive Plan. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the information I've got. From our standpoint, the owner's point of view, we bought the building, like I stated, last time we bought it in 2009. It had been vacant for 5 years. The roof was caving in. We've made a sizable investment in the building and in the community. We've been a good neighbor. We plan to continue to be a good neighbor, and I ask that you move forward with the zone change. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Matt. Next up, we've got Mr. Joe Connolly.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. I'll be brief. My name is Joe Connolly. I represent Camps Pallets. We've been with the city of Erlanger for a little over 1.5 years now. We employ approximately 20 people. We've done approximately $4.6 million in sales this past year, so that definitely contributes to the revenue that Erlanger will have. We do feel that it is important for Erlanger to embrace us, and we embrace Erlanger. We're not here for any other reason other than to make sure that we can sustain our company and make sure that our neighbors are happy to have us there. Nobody wants to be next door to somebody they're not happy with in your own home. So obviously in business, we don't want that either. We just ask that you guys do support us and give us the opportunity to work hard here in Erlanger. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Connolly. Next, we've got Mr. Bruce Clemens.
Mr. Mayor, Council, I'm a plant manager for Camps Pallets. I just kind of wanted to remind everybody we are the ones that kind of brought this to you for help. We are the ones that have got pricing and everything for screening. We're not looking to get the zone changed and violate the zone. We just need outside storage at certain times of the year. We're willing to put up a privacy fence in the front, so when you go down the street, it looks like our neighbors. All we're really asking for is our neighbor can hide his ugly business behind a screen fence. Some of our business isn't the prettiest, and we just like to kind of hide it like you do your laundry at the house. Put a screen in front of it so you have time to deal with it. And all we're looking to do is just have the outside storage certain times of the year, screen our ugly part of the business. When things lighten up, we bring it in, we stay inside, we go back outside when we're forced that way. And we're looking at 8-foot privacy fences all the way around. The way the property is laid out, it's a 340 square foot, or 340 feet this way and this way, square building. Approximately on the east side, approximately the first 150 feet is concrete, and then there's nothing but a green area the other 150 feet to the end of the building, plus another 60 or 70 feet till you get to the houses that are down over the back, and they are down over a hill. So with an 8-foot privacy fence, they're not going to see anything but a fence out back if they can see 150 feet away when the green starts coming back on the trees and the bushes. So we're here, we want to follow the instructions. We brought it to your attention. We just want some help, and we want to be able to hide our uglies like our neighbor. That's all we're really asking for.
What's the square footage on that building?
That building's 112,000 square feet. We operate in about 35% of it. 40,000 square feet is what we have. I think there's between the other 80,000 square feet, I think they bring maybe 12, 14 jobs. We're already at 20, looking to grow to 23, 24 people. Like Joe said, we did $4.5 million in sales last year. Our goal for this year is $5 million in sales. So we're just looking to be able to hide our uglies just like our neighbor. And I don't understand all the zoning things. Maybe we have to be IP 2.5, something like that.
That's cute.
I mean, 3 lawyers up there, you guys can get creative on this. So, just give us some help, okay? Thank you very much.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
You were saying earlier that there's certain times during the year when that would occur.
Yeah, we are here to service Amazon. And when Amazon gets really busy and they start shipping a lot, they free up wooden pallets.
Is there a certain time peak, like a peak time of
The
year?
peak is already over, so it's going to start slowing down for us. A lot of what's outside will start coming inside. It'll stay that way generally through spring. And then 4th of July, it slows down a little bit. But we're 40% above what our 2014 budget was just for 2015. So we've overgrown in a huge way. We want to be inside. We don't really want to be outside. Unfortunately, the property in the back of us was leased before we had a chance to get our hands on it. If we could have got that, we'd have another 40,000 square feet in the back part of this building, and we wouldn't be having this conversation. Right now, we're not looking to go 20 feet high. We're looking to go 7 3/4 feet high with an 8-foot fence around it. And we're going to shield it from the street going down the front and across the back. So, thank you very much. Anything else?
Right.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, next up we have Terry Jameson.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for letting us come and speak tonight. I'm Terry Jameson, 119 Summit Drive, Crestview Hills. Been a resident in my home for 28 years. Raised my sons there, and I have some pictures I'd like to pass around. Those pictures are taken last month before the meeting we had, and you know, I've heard the owners from these companies, Matt and Joe, and from the Zala company, but you can see that the pods are almost to the top of the building. Those from our second floor, I can see that just alone the noise that's from the airport towing. I know they're an IP4. I oppose this to be changed to the IP4 for these other businesses because of the noise level. All hours of the night, I invite any one of you all to come to my home for dinner, and you could see the lights coming in our windows at night from the tow trucks, the noise, the sound, all hours of the night. So noise would be 1, property value would be 2. I bought the house, we bought the house 28 years ago, and it was a quiet area back there. The mistake of making that IP4 to the airport towing, I'm living proof. I don't think any of you all would want to back up and live next to this. And if this were to continue on with the IP4, it would just be magnified for all of the residents, not only on Crestview, but in Crestview Hills. I oppose this for, just for the eyesore alone. You can see the pallets. And you talk about an 8-foot fence. I don't think an 8-foot fence is going to block the view to almost the top of the building. We've got 2 pods stacked.
They're going to have to come down. They won't be stacked that high.
Well, I understand, I guess they're in violation now, or they're not compliant as of now.
That may be, but I know they got to come down. They can't. Is that right, Mark? 8 foot, yeah. So they will come down, and the pallets will come down.
But just alone with the IP4, with the possibility that could be more traffic of another towing company, if that company decides to up and leave in a year or 2, the possibility of that happening all along that corridor. So I oppose. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Jerry. Jerry is the last one that we had signed up to speak. Did anybody else want to speak that didn't get on? Okay, come on up, Linda. If you wouldn't mind stating your name for the record.
Hi, my name is Linda Dietz, and I live on Price Avenue in Erlanger. I was here at the meeting in December when this issue came up, and something occurred to me. Actually, I was surprised there was a first reading, that it was not delayed, based on the fact that these good people came out to talk, and the mayor of Crestview Hills came out and talk about this issue. This affects their lives every day, every hour of the day. So I was surprised the first reading even took place. But it reminded me of another situation in Erlanger with Smith Towing. Now, I didn't come to meetings prior to last year, but apparently when Smith Towing wanted to make some changes or develop out there, Corporex objected to what they wanted. And so council listened to Corporex and said, Smith Towing, you have to work this out with Corporex. So it was delayed. And it was probably delayed. Some people, I think, became impatient about that. I think Dave Hahn did, and some other council members did. But that's how government works. That's how you get the right decision. And that's how things should happen. So here you have a case where we have another company, Camps Pallets. I could never get the actual name. Yes. They came to the city of Erlanger. They did not talk to their neighbors about what they wanted to do. And here again, they want to do this. But neighbors object. Now we have a business objecting as well. That's enough reason. And Diane Brown spoke last month that if they knew, if the Kenton County Zoning Commission had known some of these issues, they may have voted differently whatever they approved and did not approve of. So you have enough basis to delay this, to vote no on the second reading and let this business work with their neighbors now, not just with the city, with their neighbors, and work out these issues. When I sat here last fall and saw Smith Towing and Corporex sitting here together, both sides smiling about what was going on, that was the right way to resolve that issue. There's no reason why this issue should not be resolved that same way. Vote no on the second reading. Let this business work with the other business and the people in that area. Have respect for Crestview Hills, for their people, for their mayor. We want the same thing done if this was happening on the edge of Erlanger to some of our residents. There is no harm in delaying this. I believe that you stated that your business right now, if you're in your slow season, your busiest season, I guess, is Christmas time. If you're working with Amazon.com, is that correct, Christmas time? So you have time to make this change. So there's no harm in working with these people and the business and Airport Towing to make this happen correctly. Because he has valid points. Airport Towing does have valid points. Probably Airport Towing should never have been allowed to be there in the first place. But since they are, he has valid points as well. So take the time to make this happen right. And don't forget, I mean, they talk about the gray area that Vicki Kyle brought up. Don't forget when Erlanger Lakes condominium development went in, And what Erpenbeck did, by taking some of the regulations and the way he interpreted them, caused the people on Sunset Avenue to have these huge mounds as a separation for them. Have you seen the yards back there on Sunset? Probably none of you have. That was a disaster, and that was because of, I believe, something in the zoning ordinance or whatever regulation it was. Erpenbeck got around it and did what he wanted to do, and he ruined those people's homes, their yards, on Sunset and Lafayette. So take the time to do this right. Let this business work with its neighbors, people, and the business, and just give it some time and do it right. I stood up here last year with the trash can issue, and we slowed that issue down, and I think we came up with a better solution than we would if we had pushed it through. Take the time to do this right so that everyone can be happy with this decision, and I think that can happen. I mean, we already know this company's in violation right now because their pilots are so high, I guess. They're already in violation, so I'm not sure if you can really trust that they're going to, at this point, that they will be in compliance with the new, because they're not right now with the current. So give them time to work with the neighbors, make this right for everybody. There's no harm in waiting. Be patient. Government is supposed to work slowly. That's how it's supposed to work. And thank you very much.
Sometimes I feel like the only thing slower than government is glaciers. All right, did anybody else want to?
Can I add a question if I could?
Yeah, please.
To override this, don't we have to do it within a specific time? We can't delay this.
Within 90 days.
90 days.
Okay.
Which Mark and I looked at, I think, is February 5th is the 90th day?
November 5th was when they had the meeting, so, yes.
I thought we were time limited, that's why I just want to make sure.
But we do have one more meeting with the meeting on February the 2nd?
Nope.
Is that correct? Okay.
Yeah, because there were 31 days the way it was, so I think it's, you're gonna miss the night. You'd have to have, if you want to delay it, you'd have to have a special meeting to reconsider that.
And Ms. Kyle?
Yes. I know this is probably not what everybody wants to hear, but when I think of this issue, I think of when I ran for office and who I ran for. My first allegiance is to the citizens of Erlanger. What is best for you? And so when I make my decisions, it comes from the heart, and that's what I'm trying to do, make the best decision for our citizens. Secondly, at least I did, and I'm sure other people on council did also, we promised that we would encourage businesses in Erlanger. This business has come in, and they have actually improved this building. This building was just vacant. It was basically just collapsing. I personally don't want to see that happen again, because I think that would be more problems for everybody, Erlanger and Crestview Hills. And it sounds to me like the gentleman is willing to work with our screening. And the first year that I was on council, I came in after the Erpenbeck happened, and we had a lot of residents coming to the meetings, and I was horrified. So we came up with a plan with the screening, the vegetation, and we made sure that every project that came in followed that. David Hahn's very good about that. And that's probably what the mistake was. We didn't have anything at that time telling him he had to have vegetation there. And so you've got this big giant hill, and of course the water runoff was horrible. But anyway, getting back to the point, I'm going to have to vote for this because of my allegiance. And I don't do it with any ill feeling towards anybody. I just feel like that's what's best for Erlanger.
Next meeting's in 89 days.
Yeah, I'm sorry, we're just up here talking and counting out. Yeah, the next meeting is at 89 days.
You have to advertise it after that, or before that. So you'd have to have a special meeting.
Okay.
Those pictures that were passed around, what company's stuff was that elevated? Does it?
Yeah, it's the Palm Beach building, but was that campus?
So that's going to be there whether we vote for this or not.
That wasn't even your.
They're just they only had the pallets.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, that
Dave's handling, I know Dave's already talking
Yeah, he's working with.
to the people about the storage buildings.
Okay.
Pods, yes. Coming down.
Okay, what are we doing next?
Any other questions or discussion? All right, we'll move along then. All right, do we have any bids to discuss this evening?
No, sir.
All right. Any old business? Any new business?
I don't know if this is new or old, but the railroad crossing at Stevenson is very, very rough. I get jostled every time I cross that thing, and I know the railroad said they weren't finished repairing those rails. Do we have any time that they have given us when that's going to be done?
Vicky.
I attempted to make contact with them before I went off with my surgery, so I'll add that to my plate and see if I can find something out.
Yeah, because I mean, it's really rough. And you can, when you go across it, you can see it. I know.
We get several calls about it.
I know. You can actually see the ripples of the,
no doubt.
whatever that stuff is,
Yeah.
tower, or whatever. Not concrete.
Oh, okay.
I know.
Are you doing that? Are you reading them? All right, okay. Sorry, Mrs. Skidmore.
I wanted to address the railroad thing. Maybe they could look at that crossing that's on 25 out there in Florence by the new fire department. You don't even know you've gone over a railroad track out there. So maybe they, is it the same railroad? Do you know, Rick? I don't want to put you on the spot. It's the same. Is that
We'll take some pictures and send it to them.
Maybe they need to take a look at that one.
They were slowly going the same way, just smooth.
This is, it's like going down Dixie Highway before they fix it.
You're right.
Awesome now.
Okay.
Hey, hold me back.
I should have caught that earlier. All right. Any other new business? All right, moving on, then we'll move on to legislation. Our first ordinance is the IP1, IP4 text amendment. Mr. Wickman?
Yes, sir. It's an ordinance of the City of Erlanger in Kenton County, Kentucky, amending the text of the Erlanger zoning ordinance to, number one, delete the prohibition of outdoor storage in the IP3 Industrial Park 3 zone and the IP4 Industrial Park 4 zone, and number two, to increase the minimum distance required from 40 to 50 feet from buffer yard D, an area intended to provide distance and screening between two land use types such as between industrial and residential.
All right, do I have a motion?
Just a second reading.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, excuse me, that's the second, yeah. Wait a second. Yeah, okay. So that's a roll call vote. We still have a motion and second.
You got a motion.
Okay. So a motion by Mrs. Kyle, a second by Mr. Dunhoff. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Or no, excuse me, that's right. Roll call vote, excuse me, thank you.
Ms. Skidmore?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Sudkamp?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Meyer?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Blankenship?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Howard?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Pitts?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Kyle?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Burke?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Dunhoff?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, motion carried. The next thing is a motion to override the KCPC recommendation. Mr. Dunhoff?
I make a motion, we override.
Mr. Mayor, that should be supplemented to include the reason for the override, and that reason is because of the evidence in the record of the Planning Commission that the amendment agrees with the comprehensive plan.
Yes, sir. Motion.
Do you make that motion?
Yes, sir.
All right, seconded by Mr. Blankenship. All in favor, or any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Roll call.
Roll call.
That's, we're not voting on the ordinance. This is the motion to override. Any opposed?
Yes.
All right, motion carried.
What was the vote?
Yes.
9-4.
Yeah.
9 and 4?
Yes. 9-4, that's important, yeah.
Okay. Okay, it's an ordinance of the City of Erlanger in Kenton County, Kentucky, amending the Erlanger zoning ordinance to change an approximate 13.84 acre area located near the intersection of Kenton Lands Road and Russell McClure Drive, approximately 855 feet north of the Dixie Highway in the City of Erlanger, from the Industrial Park 1 zone to the Industrial Park 4 zone.
All right, do we have a motion? Motion by Mr. Dunhoff, second by Mr. Blankenship. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Mr. Skidmore,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Dunhoff,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Burke,
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Kyle,
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Pitts,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Howard,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Blankenship,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Meyer,
No, ma'am.
Miss Sedkamp,
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Skidmore.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, motion carried. Next item is a municipal order for surplus equipment. Is someone summarizing that?
Yeah, a municipal order of the City of Erlanger in Kenton County, Kentucky, making the written determinations required by KRS 82083 for the sale or other disposition of property owned by the city. Attached to the municipal order is a schedule of the assets that are being disposed and the disposal method.
All right. Do I have a motion? Motion by Mr. Blankenship, second by Mrs. Kyle. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next one is a municipal order for the 2016 PDS appointments.
So municipal order of the City Council of the City of Erlanger in Kenton County, Kentucky, approving the reappointment of Mayor Tyson Hermes as the representative of the city to the Northern Kentucky Planning Development Services, and Councilmember Randy Blankenship as the alternate.
Motion by Mr. Dunhoff, second by Mr. Burke. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next one is a municipal order regarding the Appeals Board reappointment.
So municipal order of the City Council of the City of Erlanger in Kenton County, Kentucky, approving the reappointment of member Rui Newsom to the Local Appeals Board for the City of Erlanger for the enforcement of the Kentucky Building Code. This is a 3-year term.
Motion.
Motion by, who said it? Mr. Dunhoff, second by Mrs. Pitts. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next one is a resolution for the State Transportation Cabinet. I don't have it. Oh, yeah, thank you.
On that last resolution, there is a resolution that is going to be coming before City Council. We're just not ready at this time to do it. We're going to be trading some roadways with the state. However, there are some details that we need to work out before we agree to do that, and the holidays got this pushed back. It's got put on the agenda because we thought we were going to be ready. However, we couldn't get with DOT, so it will be coming back.
All right, that is our last item on the agenda. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mrs. Pitts,
Double duty.
second by Mrs. Kyle. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.